Some objects are best left untouched, forgotten, buried deep. Old things can carry old secrets, dark secrets, especially books. Not just any books, but the kind with no title, cold to the touch even in summer. This is the story of one such book, a very bad book. It appeared in different places, different times, always waiting for someone to find it. 3 people, 3 ordinary lives, about to become extraordinary in the most terrifying way. They didn't know each other, but soon they'd share a common nightmare. This book wasn't just paper and ink, it was a vessel, a trap. It promised knowledge, but delivered only terror. It fed on fear, thrived on despair, always searching for its next victim. Are you ready to hear their stories? But don't say I didn't warn you. Sarah, a young woman full of life and curiosity, was about to stumble upon something that would change everything. She was like any other college student, eager to learn, explore, and experience all that university life had to offer. Little did she know, her thirst for knowledge would lead her down a path far darker than she could ever imagine. A curious college student, with a penchant for the unusual, always found herself drawn to the forgotten corners of the world. The campus, with its ancient buildings and hidden nooks, was her playground. She loved the feeling of uncovering secrets, of piecing together the past from fragments of history. She loved old things. The older, the better. Antique books, dusty relics, anything that whispered tales of bygone eras fascinated her. She believed that objects held memories, that they could connect us to the people and events of the past. One rainy afternoon, the kind that made the campus feel both cozy and melancholic, she found a strange, untitled book. It was unlike anything she had ever seen before, bound in dark leather and devoid of any identifying marks. It was tucked away in a forgotten corner of the campus bookstore, a place where sunlight never seemed to reach, amidst shadowy shelves and forgotten tomes. The air around it felt heavy, charged with an unseen energy. The book felt cold, almost unnaturally so, heavier than it looked, as if burdened by the secrets it held within. Back in her dorm, eager to unravel its mysteries, she opened it. The room seemed to grow colder as she did. The first page held a single line, a cryptic message scrawled in an unfamiliar script. "Speak these words aloud, if you dare." The words seemed to pulse with a dark energy, a challenge to the curious and the reckless. Sarah laughed, a nervous, dismissive sound. It seemed like a joke, a silly dare from a long-forgotten author. Alone, with rain tapping a relentless rhythm against the window, the dorm room feeling increasingly isolated, she spoke the strange words, her voice barely a whisper in the dimly lit room. Nothing happened. Silence stretched, thick and heavy, filling the room. She shrugged, tossed the book aside onto her cluttered desk, and tried to forget it, dismissing it as a harmless prank. But something felt off. A subtle shift in the atmosphere, a prickling sensation on her skin, a cold spot in the room that seemed to cling to her, refusing to dissipate, a sense of unease that settled deep in her bones, a feeling that she was no longer alone. She wouldn't know the truth until later, the horrifying reality of what she had unleashed. When the lights were out, and the night was deep, when the veil between worlds thinned, the book had already begun its work, weaving its dark magic into the fabric of her life. Sarah's story was just beginning, a descent into a nightmare she could never have imagined. The nightmare was waiting, lurking just beyond the edge of her perception. And it would find her soon, drawing closer with each passing moment, ready to claim her as its own. Night fell, draping the world in a blanket of shadows. The air grew still, holding its breath as the moon ascended, casting an eerie glow upon the landscape. It was a night like any other, or so it seemed at first glance. Sarah prepared for bed, her routine unchanged, a familiar ritual in the face of the encroaching darkness. She moved with a practiced ease, each action a comforting step towards slumber, unaware of the unsettling events that were about to unfold. In the bathroom, under the soft glow of the vanity lights, she glanced at her reflection, a fleeting moment of self-awareness before the night fully consumed her. Just herself, or so she thought, a simple image staring back, innocent and unassuming. Little did she know, the mirror held more than just a reflection. It held a gateway, a flicker in the mirror, a subtle disturbance in the glass, like a ripple in a still pond. A shadow behind her reflection, a dark and indistinct form lurking just beyond the surface, a silent observer in the dim light. She blinked, trying to clear her vision, questioning what she had just seen. Nothing, just her, the familiar comfort of her own image. Then, her reflection moved, but she hadn't. A horrifying disconnect, a break in the natural order, the mirror image acting with a will of its own. Its eyes were darker, a bottomless abyss staring back at her, devoid of warmth or humanity. colder, like chips of ice piercing through her with an unsettling intensity, filled with a terrible knowledge and understanding of things best left unknown, a glimpse into the darkest corners of existence. Sarah's heart pounded, a frantic drum against her ribs, fear gripping her with icy fingers. The reflection smiled, a slow, deliberate curve of the lips, but she wasn't smiling. A grotesque parody of joy, a chilling display of malevolence. Its lips moved, forming silent, chilling words, a message whispered from the other side, a promise of dread and despair. The book, the forbidden text, the source of the encroaching darkness, the key to unlocking the unseen horrors. It was the book, the ancient tome she had dared to open, the cursed words she had carelessly read, now coming back to haunt her. The reflection stared, its gaze piercing and inescapable, trapping her with its gaze, holding her captive in a silent, terrifying dance. Was she trapped in the mirror, a prisoner of her own reflection, forever bound to the other side, or was something trying to get out? A malevolent entity seeking to break free from its mirrored prison, to cross over into her world. Her feet felt rooted, as if an unseen force held her captive, paralyzed with fear, unable to move or scream. The ancient words had opened a door, a gateway to a realm beyond human comprehension, a passage for nightmares to cross over. Now, every night, as darkness descends, the terror returns, an inescapable cycle of fear and dread. Something looked back at her from the glass, a sinister presence lurking in the depths of her reflection, always watching, always waiting. A nightmare, bound in her own reflection, a twisted and distorted version of herself, forever trapped within the mirrored prison. The book had claimed her, marking her as its own, binding her to its dark and ancient power. And the terror was only beginning, a slow and insidious descent into madness, a nightmare that would only intensify with each passing night. She would never look in a mirror the same way again, forever haunted by the image of what she saw, forever fearful of what might be looking back. Mark inherited an old house, a relic of a forgotten past. It stood on a hill overlooking the town, a silent sentinel guarding secrets untold. The house had been in his family for generations, each leaving behind whispers and shadows. Inside, the air was thick with dust and decay. Sunlight struggled to penetrate the grimy windows, casting long, eerie shadows across the room. The scent of mildew and forgotten memories hung heavy in the air, a testament to years of neglect. The basement door, a dark portal to the unknown, had been nailed shut for years. It was a barrier, a warning, a silent plea to leave the past undisturbed. Driven by curiosity, or perhaps a morbid fascination, he pried it open, the rusty nails screaming in protest as they relinquished their hold. Flashlight in hand, its beam cutting through the oppressive darkness, he descended into the abyss. Each step creaked ominously, echoing through the silent house. Amidst the clutter of forgotten belongings and discarded memories, a small wooden chest, tucked away in a dark corner, caught his eye. It seemed to pulse with an unnatural energy, beckoning him closer. He forced the rusty lock open, the metal groaning in agony as it surrendered to his will. A musty odor wafted from within, carrying with it the scent of decay and ancient secrets. Inside, nestled on faded velvet, lay the same untitled book. Its cover was worn and cracked, its pages brittle with age. Hesitantly, Mark picked it up. It was cold, unnervingly so, as if it had been plucked from the depths of a frozen tomb. The pages seemed stuck together, resisting his touch, or maybe they were blank, devoid of any words or meaning. As he struggled to open it, a sharp unseen edge gashed his thumb, drawing a bead of crimson blood. A drop of blood, a crimson offering, fell onto the book, staining a page with its life force. And then, words appeared, dark and spidery, like the legs of some unseen creature, crawling across the paper. Sentences formed, sentences he could read, yet somehow felt alien and wrong. They spoke to him, weaving a web of words that ensnared his mind, binding him to their dark purpose. The book had chosen its next victim, its pages thirsting for a new soul to consume. Mark's fate was sealed with blood, his destiny intertwined with the ancient evil contained within the book. The darkness inside the book began to seep into him, corrupting his thoughts, poisoning his soul. He was no longer alone in the basement. Unseen entities stirred in the shadows, drawn to the awakening power. The nightmare had found him, and there was no escape. The book wouldn't let Mark go. He tried to throw it away, burn it, nothing worked. The words, fueled by his blood, writhed on the page, a contract, a pact. Mark felt strange. An itch beneath his skin, dreams of dark rituals. His reflection changed eyes, darker skin, pale nails sharpening. A chill settled in his bones, a hunger nothing could satisfy. The book lay open, its script multiplying. It was rewriting him, transforming him into something inhuman. Trapped by the blood pact, Mark was no longer himself. The book had claimed another. Its hunger was endless. Mark's nightmare was now his reality, and the book was still hungry. Eleanor, a librarian, worked late in the city's oldest library. One evening, she found the familiar untitled book among new donations. Its cover seemed to absorb the light. She catalogued it, noting a missing torn page near the back. She should have set it aside, but couldn't. As the library emptied, whispers began. Soft at first, then clearer. They called her name, Eleanor. Chills ran down her spine. The whispers came from the book. Suddenly, she felt something on her back. A piece of old yellowed paper, the missing page, stuck to her sweater. Her hands trembled as she read the spidery script. You must feed the book. Feed it? Feed it what? The command echoed in her mind. The book's hunger was now hers to satisfy. Eleanor's dread grew with every whisper. The nightmare had a new keeper. The book still exists, somewhere, waiting. Its hunger is never satisfied. Its stories never end. Sarah, haunted by her reflection. Mark, no longer human. Eleanor, given a terrible command. What must she feed the book? Fear, souls, more stories. The possibilities are endless. The book is patient. It will find another reader. Maybe you've seen a book like this, untitled, cold, calling to you. Open me, read me, just one page. It promises secrets, but only offers nightmares. So, this is my warning. Reader beware. Some doors are best left unopened, some books unread. Turn back now. Forget what you've learned before you become a character in its cursed tale. Don't say I didn't warn you.